Welcome, sir. We'll just wait for the other judge to join and then we'll start with the session.
So, Garima, after this round, I have to send this result. Yes. Yes,
Yes,
Garima. After
Yes,
this
sir.
round, I have to send result.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you can hear me. This is Dr. Ashudiman.
Yes, Ashu.
Yes, sir. Sir, you need to send this result on my email ID from wherever you have received this. After this session only. This is the last slot, sir.
I will send this in PDF form, scanned form. It's okay?
Yes, sir. It will be fine. Thank you so much, sir.
Sorry being late, sir.
Welcome, judges. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Respected judges, Dr. Amit Ludri, Advocate Shri Amar Vivek, and all the worthy participants from various law institutions of India. I, Tanvi Sharma, welcome you all to the third National Virtual Debate Competition organized by Center for Legal Studies, Geeta Ratan International Business School. CLS Gibbs encourages healthy discussion and exchange of ideas among students and provide them the platform to voice out their opinions on current national and global issues and exploring various solutions to the crisis. Before moving forward with the prelim round session, fourth session, I would like to present the general guidelines and working of the virtual debate competition organized by CLS Gibbs. The total time allotted for each team is 8 minutes. Teams shall decide the time limit of speaker 1 and speaker 2, but the minimum time for a speaker is 2 minutes. Speaker 1 will debate for the motion and speaker 2 will debate against the motion. The team score will be calculated by adding both team members' individual score. The language for the debate competition shall be English only. Use of webcam or face camera while speaking is mandatory for every participant. Reading from any written document is prohibited. If it is observed by the judges or the organizer, the teams will be disqualified. Usage of any abusive language or obscene language shall implicate immediate disqualification of the candidate. CLS Gibbs shall have the sole discretion to assess penalties or disqualify teams for any failure in abiding by any of the foregoing rules. All team members must refrain from disclosing their identity of their institution at any time in any manner during the entire competition. Non-compliance with this rule shall result in immediate disqualification of the team. The decision of CLS Gibbs in this regard shall be final and binding. Also, all the teams shall note that their statement or their argument must be legal and constitutional. They should not be political. If in any statement it is felt that it is political or any name or anything of any legal political authority is being mentioned, the team shall be disqualified immediately. Thank you. Now we will be moving forward with the round for draw of lots. So the first team is 3NDC035. I repeat, 3NDC035. Followed by 3NDC038. I repeat, 3NDC038. Then 3NDC068. I repeat, 3NDC068. Then we have 3NDC039. I repeat, 3NDC039. Then the last team we have is 3NDC006. I repeat, 3NDC006. I would like to seek the permission of judges to begin with our first team.
Yes, yes.
Permitted.
Thank you. I request team 3NDC035 to please request to speak so that we can let you in. I repeat, I request team 3NDC035 to please request to speak so that we can let you in.
Ma'am, you can tell them not to enter with their names. They should put their identity.
Sure, sir. Three NDC 035B, can we have you here?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. We'll just start as soon as your team member is here.
Is it fine? I mean, can I keep it like this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remove this. There is no need. There is no need. It's okay. You may remove this part.
Acha, okay. Thank you.
Be comfortable.
Yes,
Be
yes,
comfortable.
yes.
Is 3NDC 035B available? Can you contact them?
Yeah, just a second.
Sure. Ask them to please request to speak so that we can let them in.
He's just come.
– 35B, can you please raise your hand so that we can let you in? Okay, so we have given
Hello. Excuse
We've
me.
given-
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
yes.
Actually, my partner, she has entered the room, but she can see us, but she's not audible to us. She is in the room, she's saying.
Yes, we have entered her thrice, but due to some network issues on her end, she's not able to enter. So we'll give.
We can have them at end then. We can give them a pass.
Sure, sir.
Enter the
Sure,
next
sir.
team. Yes.
Sure, sir. So I request you to please leave the room and we'll have you in the end.
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm sorry, I apologize from her side.
No issues. Thank you. So we are moving forward with 3NDC 038. I repeat, 3NDC 038. I request you to please raise your hand so that we can let you in. Three NDC 038. Please raise your hand so that we can let you in. 3NDC038, please raise your hand if you are in the room. So I think 038 are not here with us. Let's move on to the next team. So the next team is 3NDC068. I repeat, 3NDC068. Please raise your hand so that we can let you in. Three NDC068. Please raise your hand so that we can let you in. Three NDC068. Please raise your hand so that we can let you in. So we have 3NDC068 with us.
Hello, am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you're audible, but you're not visible.
Yes, for some reason my webcam, but it was working while I was testing it.
Please join again or refresh your page.
Just a second.
Wait,
And make sure that your webcam
Okay,
option
okay.
is turned on.
Am I visible now?
Yes, you're visible now. Judges, can the team start?
We can start.
Permitted.
Thank you. Your time starts now.
Hello, should we begin? Are we audible?
Yes. Yes, yes, you are audible. It's 068, no?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Start.
Good afternoon, respected sir. I belong to team number 068 and I'm here to speak for the motion on the constitutionality of Citizenship Amendment Act. Citizenship laws in India have been a topic of constant debate for the past year or so. The general law of land has been that illegal immigrants in India are thrown out. That is, illegal immigrants are basically that have entered the territory of India illegally. That is, they don't have valid visas or the valid documents required to be on the sovereign Republic of India. So what CAA does is that it recognizes three states, specifically our neighbors of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan. And these three states are Islamic states. So it further recognizes a group of people in these states who are religious minorities in these states. And these religious minorities are persecuted on the basis of their religion and their beliefs. So the CAA has provided a gateway of sorts for these religious minorities of these three specific countries to attain the citizenship of India by the process of naturalization. And the time to obtain that citizenship has been cut down to 5 years from the standard 11. That is, if they have entered India before the deadline of 31st December 2014. The principal objection to the CAA is that it violates and it dilutes Article 14 of the Constitution of India. Article 14 of the Constitution of India talks about equality, but it recognizes that the equality must be amongst equals and it must not be amongst unequals. So the Article 14 of Constitution of India allows for reasonable classification on the basis of intelligible differentia. And the intelligible differentia that I'm talking about must be on the basis of a logical and a consciential criterion. So basically, on a logical and consciential criterion, a class of people is created, and then that class of people must be treated fairly. So what the CAA does is that it has created a class of these persecuted religious minorities in three specific states of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. Now the question is whether such classification is reasonable or not. Now that is a question that the parliament must answer, and for the parliament to decide, as the parliament has the plenary power to make laws. So the parliament provided that in the statement of objective of the act, which says that these three countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, have a transmigration process, of India, and they have been part of India before independence. So India has a moral responsibility and a cultural responsibility to respect and provide heritage and basically a shelter to the religious minorities of Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains, Christians, Parsis. And another challenge to the CAA is that it challenges the secular structure of the Constitution of India. That is, that it treats Muslims as second-class citizens. So I think a sense of history is very important, because unless we know where we come from, how are we to appreciate where we are going? Jawaharlal Nehru, the partition of India created a unique circumstance in regards to migration, immigration, and the citizenship laws of India. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, who was in charge at that time, was a champion of the secular ideology. I don't think anyone can question his secular credentials. So when we talk about partition, it created basically two waves of migrations. The first wave of migration happened in March 1947, and the second wave happened in 1948. The first wave was Hindus and Sikhs from Pakistan coming to India, and the second wave was the Muslims of India that left India for Pakistan, who wanted to return back to India. So these Muslims that wanted to return back to India in 1948 were called as evacuees. So the constitution, without naming them as Muslims or Hindus, created unique laws for the people who migrated back to India in 1947 and people who migrated in 1948. So what it did was it provided the state of India a power to veto the migrations that were happening in the second wave of migration, which was completely Muslims. So was that a secular nature? Was that a secular? And the second thing is, the second was the Nehru-Liaquat Pact that was entered into by India and Pakistan. The Nehru Liaquat Pact's foundation was based on the principle of critical hostage theory. So I would like to conclude that CAA is constitutionally valid and constitutionally valid, and it passes all the basic tests of the Constitution. Thank you, sir.
Am I audible?
Audible.
Okay. Good morning, sir. I will be arguing against the CEA. I will be speaking against the motion. We in India have grown up learning that our uniqueness was in our diversity. At the time of the partition, India consciously chose to reject a theoretical state and the state religion and chose to become a secular state. Though the word secular has no mention in a text of the original constitution, the word was added to it by the 42nd Amendment. Though most of what was done by the 42nd Amendment was undone by the 44th Amendment, the word secular still remain in the constitution to the present date. Further, in the S.R. Bommai judgment of the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has said that the secularism forms the very basic structure of a constitution. Now, if we look at the very act, the CEA, what the CEA purports to do is that it upheaves, it stultifies the very basic structure of the constitution and to abrogate the secular character of the constitution. It seeks to provide a fast-track procedure to the citizenship to certain communities such as Jain, Buddhists, Sikhs, and Hindus, with a noticeable exclusion of the Muslim communities coming to India. That is, the time period has been reduced from the 11 years to the 5 years. Now, it is arguable that the very fact that the ex facie the act is very unreasonable, fanciful, and oppressive. The act goes against the constitution. The act goes to the very teeth of the Article 14. Article 14 talks about the equality, not only for the citizen, but the non-citizen as well. In purporting to exclude the Jews, the Muslim minorities such as the Shias, Ahmadiyas, and even the agnostic and the atheist, the CEA turned blind eyes to the persecuted people in those specified countries as well. Now, the proponent of the CEA here has often invoked the Chief Justice Patanjali Shastri's word that though the Article 14 prohibits class legislation, it permits reasonable classification with the reasonable nexus with the object. Now, applying this test to the very CEA, it can be seen that the case against CEA is very compelling. Three types of classification has been done within the Act. First, with regard to the exclusion of the minorities such as the Shias and the Ahmadiyas. No reasonable explanation has been given Sir, I would like to ask for just 30 more seconds to complete my argument. No reasonable explanation has been given by the Parliament why there has been an exclusion of the Muslim communities. Secondly, with regard to the state, if the objective was to provide protection to the pre-independence India, the undivided India, why has the Afghanistan been included and the Burma? So I would like to ask.
I'm so sorry, your time is over. Thank you so much. I request team 068 to please leave the room so that others can enter.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I request team 3NDC038 to please raise your hand so that we can let you in. NDC038, please request to speak so that we can let you in. Okay, so I think they're not in the okay. Okay, I think they're not in the room, so let's move forward with moving forward to 3NDC 006. I repeat, 3NDC 006. I request the team to please click on the speak button so that we can let you in.
39 is not available.
Sorry?
You call 6006.
Yeah, we called 038, they're not available. And so we are moving forward with 006. Also, 035B is having some connection issue.
3538 and 39, they are not available.
Yes, 38 and 39 are not in the participants list.
Okay.
So we'll see if they're there in the end, then we'll let them in.
Okay, now 006
Yes.
is okay.
006. I request both the participants to please turn on their audio and video.
Hello, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Oh, great.
Greetings to the honorable judges.
Just a minute. The opponent team is not visible. Can you please turn on your camera?
My camera is on.
Sorry?
My camera is on.
But we're not able to.
Is there any setting in particular over here which I need to do, because my webcam shows that it's on?
If you see on the top of the page, you'll see a webcam option. Just turn it on. Just turn on the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're visible now.
Great. Thank you.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am going to speak for the motion. I strongly contend that Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 is constitutionally valid and does not impose any threat to secular structure of the Constitution of India. Citizenship Amendment, I am going to tell this in a twofold approach. First, Citizenship Amendment Act does not violate the right to equality and equal protection under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, as it passes the test of reasonable classification laid down by Supreme Court in Anwar Ali versus State of West Bengal. It is formed on a reasonable classification and has a rational nexus for the object to be sought by the statute of the question. There are clear and substantial classification which the Citizenship Amendment Act processes, such as the citizenship is to be provided to only those communities who are facing religious persecution in the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And these neighboring countries are chosen because before independence, these countries were the part of India and have the Islam as their state religion. Now, the Constitution of India also makes distinction between the citizens and the non-citizens, and also its some provisions makes distinction between the citizens of India. For example, the Special Courts Act grants the special court to prosecute certain cases, and it is formed under the ambit of the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. Second, the other neighboring countries such as Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Bhutan, etc., are not included in this act because the refugees or the immigrants of these countries are offered asylum on a case-by-case basis through executive orders by the government of India. secondly, if we talk about the sub issue of the whether this violates the secular structure of the constitution or not, the amendment is the need to correct the historical wrong. If we, as we all know, the Nehru-Liaquat Pact was signed. To protect the right of minorities of both the country, but this obligation was not fulfilled by the Pakistan. As we can also see that the fact of that from 1955 to 1967, almost 70 lakh Hindus migrated from Pakistan to India, and also the forefathers of our Indian Constitution, such as B.R. Ambedkar, P.S. Deshmukh, and also the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, wanted a restitutory provision to be added in the Citizenship Act of 1955, which allows the Hindus and Sikhs and the other minorities to directly come to India and grant citizenship. Now, freedom of religion is the key factor of the principle of secularism in India, and it is submitted that Citizenship Amendment Act does not violate the secular structure of the constitution, because it only provides citizenship to only the religious persecuted communities. Mark the word, the religious persecuted communities, not the persecuted communities from the neighboring countries. Now, and moreover, the amendment has nothing to do with the Muslims of India, because modifications of the act does not stop any of the Muslims from the neighboring countries to come and grant the citizenship of India by the natural process. Now, moreover, the Article 11 of the Indian Constitution grants power to the Parliament to frame any provisions for the termination and acquisition of citizenship, subject to the limitation that provision does not violate the secular structure of the Constitution, as envisaged in the Keshavanand Bharti case. Now, seeking to this, the amendments in the Foreigners Act of 1946 and the Passport Entry into India Act of 1920 were made, and the amendments were made like that so that the non-Muslims of these neighboring countries of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan can directly seek citizenship of India. So following the amendments, it is also the amendments are also a key reason which shows that it does not violate any secular structure of the India, and Parliament has the power to pass on the amendment. Now, on the basis of the above contention, it is submitted that Citizenship Act does not violate the secular structure. Thank you. Tasneem, you are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now.
Can you please set our time again? I request you. Okay, so greetings to the House. I strongly condemn that the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 violates the principle of right to equality under Article 14 and the basic structure of secularism. First of all, there is no reasonable classification in filtering people for citizenship based on religion. Second, there is no reasonable classification in further choosing only 3 countries. And third, there is no reasonable rationale behind choosing the date of 31st December 2014. Now I contend this on the basis that several other religiously persecuted communities have been left out of the Citizenship Amendment Act, who belong from these 3 states as well, and apart from these states, along other states which the proposition has claimed to be a part of undivided, who are not a part of undivided India. Furthermore, there is no rational nexus between the classification made and the objective sought. I would like to bring into the notice of this House, your ladies and gentlemen, that the statement of object and purposes which was submitted with the CAA clearly said that the object of CAA is to provide shelter to the persecuted, to the ones facing persecution. However, if this is the object of the CAA, then several persecuted communities have been left. When the interpretation was given by the lawmakers, they held that the bill includes religiously persecuted communities. However, if you notice in the bill, nowhere such word has been mentioned. Nowhere the term religiously persecuted communities have either been defined, which makes it prone to misuse by the government. Furthermore, it is a clear violation of the secular nature of the Constitution of India as laid down in the case of Keshavanand Bharti. Now, the impacts and implications of CAA are directly based, the grounds for discrimination are directly based on religion, making religion clearly as a ground for for classification cannot be held reasonable, as there are other classifications as well, and it will furthermore impact the entire citizens of India as well, as the refugees are going to come and stay into India, right? So this entire problem is ultimately going to the ultimate consequences are to be borne by the Indian citizens, and therefore the Indian citizen and the minority within India are most likely to be prone by this particular Citizenship Amendment Act. Furthermore, the objective is to, if the objective is to bring on shelter, therefore the rational nexus it lacks in the CAA and the classification made and the objective sought, and the minorities are in a very critical, bringing to a very critical condition. Furthermore, the lawmakers have clearly pointed out that there are going to be consequences of NPR and NRC, and when Citizenship Amendment Act is clubbed along with those, such consequences are going to be fatal to not just Islamic or atheist communities, but also minority communities such as women and Dalits in India. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I request team 006 to please leave the room so that others can enter.
Yes, now Garima, we have the teams 35,
Yes.
38, 39. 3 teams left.
Yes, sir. So we are moving with 39. So
And what
it is,
about 35, 35, 38
sir, 35 is also here.
and 38?
Sir, 38 is here. We are not able to reach 38.
Okay. So now we are moving for 39.
Yes, sir. So it is 3NDC 039. I repeat, 3NDC 039. Please request to speak so that we can let you in. I request team 039 to please send a request to speak so that we can let you in.
मैम चल गया चल गया
Sorry for the inconvenience, judges. There was some technical issue. Should we proceed?
You may proceed.
Thank you. So we're starting with team 3NDC039.
It's okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I'm from team 039. Actually, both of us were, we were not even able to connect despite like requesting for it. So, is it
There
okay
was
if we
some-
speak now?
No, there was actually some technical error. Now it's resolved.
Okay.
Can you please ask your team member to request?
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
Thank you.
बिना check their identity, why they ये इनका जो face नहीं आ रहा है, video नहीं आ रही है, what's the problem?
Can you just tell me how to connect to the camera?
If you see on the top of your screen, you will see a webcam. Please turn it on.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
I have texted my partner. I'll just wait for her because she left the room.
Can you please ask her to join? Are you speaking for the motion or against the motion?
I'm speaking against the motion.
Okay, so I request the team member who's speaking for the motion to please join the room. (3NDC039A), please join the room. Please request to speak so that we can let you in.
Ma'am, I think she has requested. Can you just check once?
Sure. There is no request. Please ask them to send the request again. Can you please ask her to send the request again so that we can let her in?
Yes, I did ask her. Just a minute. Yes, ma'am. She's saying that she's requesting. I think there's some technical glitch from like either end. That is why she can't enter. Is it okay if I go on with my speech and then if she...
No, we can pass over them. We can have the next team.
All right, fine.
We have accepted the request.
It's all right, ma'am. We can have the next team to save the time.
Okay, sure, sir. So I request team 039 to please leave the room so that next team can enter, and we'll have you later on. Okay, we have both the candidates now, sir. So should we begin with them only?
Perfect. We can start.
Please turn on your video and audio.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Before delivering my speech, I have a request to our honorable judges. Please consider to note down my ID before I start. It is 039A. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now, just give me 1 sec. Yeah. So starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, honorable judges, punctual timekeeper, and our fellow opponents. Understand the two main issues that has been raised against CAA, that it is a threat to secularism, and secondly, it makes unreasonable classification. Now understand what is the object of CAA. It is to protect the minority groups who are belonging from these three particular countries and are religiously persecuted. Now there has been classification among the immigrants into this 6 particular communities. Why is it so? If you consider UN's data of immigration, you will see the immigrants who are fleeing from these 3 particular countries are in fact belonging to this particular 6 communities. So you can understand in order to achieve the object, recognizing these minority people were important. So you can understand from this the nexus between the classification and the object, and thus it is proven that it is not in violation of Article 14 and is not making any unreasonable classification. Now understand why these 3 countries only. Now India is not a member of UN's Convention for Refugee 1951. So it won't have to be abided by all its rules and regulations. This places India in a position where the Constitution itself under 7th schedule and Article 11 is empowering the state to decide what could be the criteria for citizenship. Now in this place, what a state might consider, it might consider our national security, it might consider administrative policy as well as international relations, right? So if there is a potential threat related to particular community, for example, Rohingyas linked with ISIS, the state must take into consideration that and act accordingly for the best for our national interest. Of secularism, which guarantees us with the right of religious liberty. Now, in no provision, CAA is taking away someone's right to profess and practice religion, and they are given full liberty to profess that, right? But what CAA is basically doing, it is not excluding any person, rather classifying among the immigrants on the, for the purpose of religion, for the purpose of legislation, what Article 14 promotes, and also on the basis of existing data and giving benefit to certain categories of people who are somewhat unequally situated. So that is what Article 14 tells us. So now nobody can question why they are being given this extra benefit. Now also the articles like 15 and 19 explicitly allows the government to classify the non-citizens on the basis of religion. Now, to sum up, the very objective of CAA is to protect the minority groups who are belonging to these three particular nations. So if there in the minority groups, if there is not a particular community is present, so one cannot come to a conclusion that it is a threat to our secular nature of our constitution or making unreasonable classification. And also take into consideration that under our consideration, our constitution, the state itself is empowered with the absolute right to decide the criteria and can put a country as a criteria. Thank you so much.
Yes, Garima. Yes.
I request the opponent to begin.
Before I begin, can you just tell me how much time is left? Okay, 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So, standing after a lot of constitutional debate, I feel like Henry VIII's wife, right? So much of waiting, but finally we are here. Before we get into the debate of constitutionality, let us do a comparison. What is the comparison between what the law has been and what it is now? Judges, please consider the fact that Article 6 of the Constitution does not state that it would confer citizenship only to a people belonging to a particular religion. Hence, this particular law right now in status quo is a direct radical departure from what it has been previously. We have the principle of secularism, which has been enshrined in the principles of the Constitution itself. Then it was held in the case of Ananda Bharti versus State of Kerala by the Supreme Court that if there is any law which is violative of the basic structure of the Constitution, then that will be immediately struck down upon. Now we come to the second point of argument, which is the fundamental rights. Some of the on side op went on to say that articles fundamental rights are not available to non-citizens. We tell you that that's not the case. In time and again, it was held by the Supreme Court and also the High Courts in several cases, such as Chairman Railway Board versus Chandrima Das, and very recently in the year 2013, R.I. Jabrad versus Union of India, that the fundamental rights of Article 21, Article 14, and Article 15 are available to non-citizens as well. And which is why we tell you that this law not only violates the basic structure of the Constitution, but it also violates the very fundamental rights, and it is against the idea of domestic jurisprudence which we hold very close to us. This has been a debate which has been going on for the past 1 year between every person, be it a legal entity or a non-legal entity, because it's of such importance and it questions the very crux principles on which our Constitution stands, right? We tell you that the reasonable classification that side op is telling you about, that classification is not applicable in this case. While certainly intelligible differentia might be there in case of certain law, but in this case, it's not true. democracy is not just to ensure the rule of majority. Democracy is there so that the minority do not feel ostracized, do not feel left out, and do not feel they are being tread upon. And which is why we stand here on our side of the house. We tell you that this law, which violates a very crux of the Constitution, the very principle on which the Constitution stands, we are against it. Now, quoting B.R. Ambedkar, however good a constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are not good, it will always be bad. And however bad a constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are good, it will always be good. We do not speak about the social debate, but it's very important that I mention here what it is leading to people agitating all over India.
Your time is over.
Yeah.
No, sir, your time is over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
So I request team 039 to please leave the room. Now we are moving forward with the team 3NDC 035. I repeat, 3NDC 035. Please raise your hand and click the speak button so that we can let you in.
Hello.
I hope I can be seen. I'm so sorry for the delay that was caused. I think there is some glitch in the, or because I entered previously with my name. I would request judges to kindly note my code, which is 3NDC035B. I repeat, 3NDC035B. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Your time starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. And respected judges, thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak here today. My team code is 3NDC035A. And I am proud to speak for the motion, that is, the Citizenship Amendment Act is constitutionally valid. The Citizenship Amendment Act was passed by the Parliament in 2019, and it has been a reason for debates and controversies all over the country since the day it was introduced in the Parliament. Now, according to this act, any person belonging to Hindu, Sikh, Jain, Muslim, Buddhist, I'm sorry, not Muslim, I will repeat. According to this act, any person belonging to Hindu, Sikh, Parsi, Christian, Jain, or Buddhist community who has entered India from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh on or before 31st of December 2014 shall not be treated as an illegal migrant. Now, this act has been criticized by a lot of people for not including Muslims. If we see the countries that this act talks about, those are Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. All these three countries are Muslim majority countries. And in fact, they have a declared state religion, which is Islam. Now, the sole purpose of this act is to protect the minorities of these countries who has been persecuted on the basis of religion. So there is no reason to include Muslims because they are the majorities in those countries, and majorities have a right to have at least an opportunity to express themselves, but the minorities cannot express themselves, their culture and everything. And therefore, a lot of people argue that this act violates Article 14 of the Constitution of India. If we see Article 14, it talks about equality of law and equal protection of law. Now, the principle of equality does not mean that every law shall be, that every law must have a universal application. This law is designed to confer its benefits on an identified class of persons, and the doctrine of reasonable classification under Article 14 provides the government the power to classify to create classification which is rational and reasonable. And same is the case with this act. Here, the benefit is given to an identified class of persons, and this identification is based on a rational criteria. And therefore, this act cannot be condemned as being discriminatory on the ground that it could have created a wider class. Now, so I conclude my statements that this act cannot be called constitutionally invalid. In fact, it is completely valid. Thank you.
I will take over from. Can I talk now?
Yes, please continue.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So without much ado, I will just dive right into the issue at hand, and I will be speaking against the motion. The Citizenship Amendment Act is unconstitutional as it goes against the secular fabric of our nation. This statement has been repeated by lawyers, politicians, the civil society, all alike. The government has already argued in the Supreme Court when the petitions were filed that Article 11 of the Constitution gives the sovereign state unfettered right over citizenship. Those who are challenging the CAA are arguing that the amendment is against the Constitution because it links citizenship to religion and is therefore discriminatory. I would like to point out that Article 11 does not place any limitation on the government, and it gives it the right to regulate citizenship. However, there are implied limitations that the Supreme Court must look at. Now, no law passed by the Parliament can go against the basic structure of the Constitution, of which secularism is an essential part, and the same has been laid in the Keshav Nanda Bharati case, and therefore the CAA cannot go against it. Now, there arise certain pertinent questions like, why should we care, and how does it affect the likes of you and me? On its own, it's fair to assume that the CAA is not a particularly insidious piece of legislation, but when it gets combined with NRC, and it becomes a piece of legislation which we need to worry about. The CAA will be applied before carrying out the process of NRC, and the government plans that the refugees, which are the non-Muslim migrants, will be granted citizenship, and the infiltrators, which are the Muslim migrants, will be thrown out and persecuted. I would like to now list out some objective reasons to oppose the act. While debating the act in the Rajya Sabha, the government has again and again been talking about lakhs and crores of beneficiaries of this act, but the scrutiny report submitted by the Parliamentary Standing Committee and the Intelligence Bureau reported that only 31,000, I repeat, 31,313 people will benefit out of it. I want to know who are these lakhs of people who will be benefited. Now, there comes the Citizenship Amendment Act. One needs to notice that there is no mention of the word. If you read the full text of the act, there is no mention of the word religious persecution. To explain how CAA acts as a religious filter, it's important to explain the significance of this one little omission that there is. Now, under Section 2 of the CAA, the said communities, which are the Hindu, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jain, Parsi, and Christian communities from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan who entered India before 31 December 2014, will not be treated as illegal immigrants. It also exempts under the Passport Entry into India Act of 1920. Now, it is important to note this particular act because now it is like a Russian doll. When it comes to applying the Muslim filter, it can be imposed through these rules by making sure that the central government holds the power to change the Passport Act rules to ultimately affect the CAA, and that too, anytime it wishes. They have opened up possibility of massive future misuse. Also, the cutoff date of December 31, 2014 appears extremely arbitrary. If the aim of the act is humanitarian as it proposes to be, then why have a cutoff date in the first place? Surely the communities which are persecuted before 2014, they will continue to be persecuted after 2014 as well, right? Now, there comes a question of future misuse of CAA. Now, imagine a scenario where we have a nationwide NRC rolled out, and and we all know how the bureaucracy functions. Let's imagine there is a huge mess up by the bureaucracy. Now, a legal recourse is available only to people of 6 religions mentioned in the CAA. Now, it is important to note that the law specifically says that people belonging to these faiths shall not be treated as illegal migrants. Muslims, however, will not have any such recourse, which is extremely worrying. For now, the existence of the law simply tells the word that India can deprive its own Muslims of citizenship while welcoming migrants of other faiths. And also, we do not care much about the atheists or the Jews, persecuted or not. To conclude, I would like to dial back to our class 8th civics books when we were first introduced to the concept of constitution. The textbook introduces the constitution by way of an analogy to rules of games like that of football or cricket, where it lays out that one has to use these rules to regulate human behavior, and therefore we need a rule to control us, and therefore we have the constitution of our country. Now, what the government is trying to do is, the government has picked up the ball and is running with it. While people are trying hard to stick to the rules and kick the ball, every player from the government team is just even more bizarre is the crowd in the stadium is cheering the government along and questioning the other team, calling them anti-nationals whenever they point to rule violations. Thank you.
Your time is over.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, judges, I'm unfortunately team 038 is not here with us. So I would like to conclude here.
Fine.
By this we
finalize the scores.
Yeah, sure, sir. By this we come to the end of the prelim round, session 4. On behalf of CLS Gibbs, I would like to thank respected judges for their valuable time for judging the session, and our best wishes to all the participants. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Rima, now it's over. Can we leave? Can
Yes.
we take leave?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you
We
so
don't
much.
have to upload the Excel sheet now. That's all. We just have to give you the sheet now.
Yeah, you have to mail it to Dr.
The
Ashuma.
concerned person. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll do
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.